Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Dagger for Sightblinder. We're doing a bonus episode about episode 6 of the show. It's a reaction video, and it was a pretty crazy episode. Oh, and also, may you find shade this day. Sarah, how are you?
Good, Adam. How are you?
I'm good too.
I was like, say it.
Oh, I haven't completely forsaken the light, it looks like.
No, you're good. You're still good.
Good. This episode was not what I was expecting at all. And I think I'm fine with it, but it was very different.
I have thoughts and feelings and questions.
Oh, good.
And concerns.
You're human?
I am human today.
Good. Good.
Yeah. I don't know what I expected going. Do you have an idea? Like, what did you expect going into this? Because I don't think it was this.
I don't know. So in a way, I guess I'm not trying to take credit necessarily. I kind of predicted what was going to happen because I had said in the last one they need a quest of some sort. They were there. They'd accomplished everything that they'd already kind of set out to do. And they weren't just going to sit there and stare at each other until someone's like, "Oh, I'm the Dragon Reborn." Like that wasn't what was going to happen. So in a way, I was like, they're going to go on their quest. They have Loyal here. They're going to go in a Waygate because that's featured prominently in a lot of their art and everything. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't sure what the circumstances surrounding it were. And I wasn't disappointed, though. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like we got a lot of information and a lot of, seeds being dropped for the plot, like you're saying, and things getting pushed into action. But at the same time, for me, it also felt like nothing happened.
Right. Well, they were just in the tower.
Yeah.
Just agitating. Yeah. Just doing their thing.
So I had this like conflicting feelings. I was like, I feel like we got a lot, but I also feel like we didn't.
Yeah.
So
not
mad about it.
So they show Swans, the Amaryllis Seat's childhood, which I thought that was really cleverly done at the start, because then she could tell Nynaeve to stop being such a bee.
Oh, man.
Can you stop being so entitled? Because we all have to do what we have to do. Because I've been right there too, but I acted like a grown person. I acted like an adult. And
you acted like an adult. Yeah.
We were just talking about that, but yeah. but yeah, I thought that the craft of that was really well done, even though the craft they show her origin kind of, and then they show it kind of informs all of the different things that she's done throughout the episode, the way she is. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I was not disappointed with the Amaryllis at all.
No, she was so good. I thought, especially when we first see her as the Amaryllis, when she walks in, she is so stoic and has this commanding presence about her. Yeah. But at the same time, you can see that there's this, I don't want to say like gentleness, but you can see that she is logical and reasonable and wants to hear everything.
Right. She's not just a hard ass.
Yeah, exactly. She's not going to fly off the handle. She's not going to react based off her gut. Like, she's going to be actually very logical about everything and listen to all of the factors and then come to a decision.
Yeah, she's a leader.
Yeah.
Like, essentially like a good leader. She's not just going to it was cool. And first, I guess I'll point out in the first part with her on the boat and everything, there's a couple things. First off, when they get back, so she's channeling, and in her backstory, I don't think this is like spoilery. It does. There's a lot of things I'm going to have to talk about in the book, because they turned a lot of things from the book upside down, just on its head. Okay. uh, so some of the stuff I'll be more generalized, but for her though, for Swan Sanche, she channeled once and they found out what she was and they just packed her off to Tyr and that was it.
Okay.
Or sorry, they packed her off to Valon from Tyr
Right.
because Tyr is a town that doesn't like anything to do with the power. And
Right.
this time I thought it was interesting. She kind of gave off that her dad wasn't that nice in the books, but in this one she had a good relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really sad to see him just ship her off. And I had to think, Tyr is about as far from Tar Valon as you can get, and she's just going to be on the boat alone. She's just a little kid. I felt
Yeah.
like it was a
Well,
little bit irresponsible, but
it also, I mean, yeah, but it also gave off the vibe, just like with the interaction between her and her dad. This wasn't the first time she's done it. She obviously knows what, like, you can tell that she knew what she was doing and how to do it. And you can also tell that her dad knew that, like, he's concerned, like,
right.
you can't be doing this. Like, what if somebody sees? And she's like, oh no, like no one's around. So like it's obviously been a discussion that they've had before. This isn't the first
Yes.
time. So maybe she'll be fine on the boat by herself.
I mean, she has the power, but did that save? How much did that help all the other random, like
Yeah.
the yellow Aja sister gets burned alive by the white cloaks, the Trollocs who have been killing, there's so many threats out there, there's dark friends, and she's just a little girl on a boat.
Yeah.
Just I would struggle as a parent to do that.
Totally valid, and absolutely understand that. On the flip side, maybe that's why she's the Emerald Sea.
Well, it
like
probably,
maybe that's a little highlight.
well, sure. So she's strong. It shows she's strong. I
Yeah.
just like, what's her dad gonna do? Anyways, he can't. He has one hand and no house and no house and no boat.
Right.
So I don't know. Whatever. I don't need to get stuck on it. I just it was that part was really sad and really kind of scary as a parent for me. And then one thing I did notice too, though, when they went to the ruins and they didn't seem that surprised. They just seemed kind of sad.
Right.
Like clearly it's that kind of thing is known to them at least. So, and it was implied that it was because they knew she was a channeler. So the people in the country around surrounding them don't approve of channeling. But then there was that little sigil that was on their door, or whatever. I think it was supposed to be the dragon's fang.
Yeah, it was sad to watch. I'm glad that we got it though, because then, like you said, you can totally understand after watching that opening scene why she is the way she is and why she, will react to Nynaeve the way she reacts to Nynaeve, and even just reacting to the other, all of the Aes Sedai and how she carries herself around them and speaks to them.
Yeah, well, we saw so many different faces. I feel like we could have like a little, like a T-shirt with the 9 faces of Swan Sanche. Like the little girl face,
Yeah.
the in private, a private audience when Nynaeve is being kind of a pain. The kneeling face, all the different faces. So
yeah, no, it was good.
So anyways, then what? So I thought that was a great way to start it. Do you like, by the way, do you like the intro, like the opening credits stuff?
I love it. Every time I watch it, I love it even more.
Okay.
You don't like it?
No.
Oh, I love it.
Just kind of
it's so brilliantly done that it's thread being woven. Like, that's just so smart. I think it's great.
Okay, I'm glad you like it. So that proves that it proves it's worthwhile. I was curious. I had a hunch, which was clearly wrong. I had a hunch that no one liked it.
I typically skip intros. Like, after I've watched it the first time, I usually will skip an intro, and I don't skip this one.
I never skip it because I don't trust the skipper. They always
Mm,
cut. Sometimes some shows they'll cut into the episode, and
yeah,
you miss a few important lines at the start, and it annoys me.
yeah, that's fair. No, so I don't skip this one.
All right. Well, good. That means you don't miss a few important lines at the start.
Right. Neither
Yeah,
do you, because you never skip, apparently.
I never do.
Hmm. Well
Never
then.
once. Just kidding. At least I would have had to have skipped at least once for that whole story to actually be true, right? So
I mean, you might have just made it up.
that's true. Those are two options. So anyways, let's
Get into the actual episode after the credits.
yeah. Well, so
Mhm.
I think this is the one I like Moraine the most in to start
Oh,
off with.
she's so good in this one. I actually made a mental note and a physical note, both, about
Hmm.
how good she is in this episode.
Yeah. I think you also see the many faces of Moraine in this one. She
Yeah.
is all over the place. She's pulling the strings everywhere. It's so fun to see her, like the way she stands truth on its head. It's very interesting.
Mhm. And she was really snarky and witty in this episode. Like she just had really great one-liners. Like at one point she tells Nynaeve if she's gonna take the title wisdom, she better start using some. I was like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
okay.
I had to pause. I was laughing. I laughed out loud. I was like, I can't miss more. This is super. It was so good.
I was like, oh, okay, we are going there. Yeah, she had another one about the Emerald seat waiting for one woman only.
Yeah, and you're not her.
Yeah.
I
Well,
laughed
she
out loud
muttered
too.
it. She like
Yeah,
muttered it under her breath. I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's a little possessive.
yeah. I thought that was really fun. Yeah, she was. Well, and I just thought it was really cool. She played the games she needed to play to get the job done, even if she
Mhm.
didn't want to, even if they wasn't always pleasant. She played every. She was just a maestro. She was playing all the instruments, all the different things in a really cool way to coordinate to get to where she needed to be. And
Right.
yeah, so I thought it was a cool thing. They had the hall meeting, and the tower, the hall of the tower, and all the Aes Sedai there, all the different Ajas, and I mean, this is the very core kind of what the White Tower is this all the schemes and all the things that the Aes Sedai are doing were just cool. It was
Right.
cool to see them talking about it,
Yeah.
or to see it in practice.
Mhm.
Um,
It was also just like those scenes there in that tower were shot so well. Like you get this, you feel how big it is, right? Like you just
right?
feel it. Like this is like a sacred area.
Yeah, it was cool. Her interaction with Logain at the start, where she says, well, whatever you did, we're not even going to kill you. You're just going to
Mhm.
be it was a hard thing for her to say, but I thought it was interesting. And I love how he at the first started kind of strong, and then she just kind of melted him a little bit.
She called his bluff. She was like, I
Yeah.
know what you're doing and you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just wilted.
Mhm.
She's like, no, I'm stronger than you. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
She just kind of slapped his hand. Stop. Quit it.
And then he was dragged out, literally screaming.
Yeah. Please
So,
kill me.
like,
Jeez.
yeah, I thought that was okay. I really enjoy that they started it with that, like bringing him in and
Mm.
um having that whole interaction. I think because I enjoyed seeing how the Emerald Seat interacted with Logain before you saw her really interact with the other Aes Sedai. Because you could kind of see this hardness to her there and this
Mhm.
logic to her. And sorry, there's something floating. I almost expected like a switch to flip once Logain was out of there, and it didn't. She was still like a hard ass and wanted to know what was going on. Why didn't she get to have a proper trial with Logain? Like what actually happened? And it was really cool to watch. It also made me hate Leandrin even more.
Yeah, she's perfect. You'd love to hate her.
Yeah. She a bee.
Yeah, she's and all the other Reds. The Reds are all they always have a posse there together.
Mhm.
They're never left. They're never alone. And then if they are alone, that's when Moraine just kind of slaps them. She's just like, okay, 1-on-1, you no match for me. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It was. Do not like.
Yeah, but it was cool to see. So I'm curious. Let's see. I'm trying to think of. So I wonder what their intention for Leandrin is as a character, just in terms of because she doesn't play a role at all in book one. Doesn't exist in book one. And like kind of the Red that you love to hate the most in the series is Elida, who I don't know, you've probably met her a little bit in book 2 or 3 or something. But she's kind of the Red that takes prominence, kind of. I don't want to give any others like more bigger spoilers away, but I'm wondering, and this is probably something other people know, but I wonder if Elida has been cast. I wonder if Elida is kind of, they're just melting Leandrin and Elida into the same character for the show.
Right. Maybe. I could see, like, I know we've talked about this before, but you could melt multiple characters into one.
Mm-hmm. Which I actually approve of in certain, like, I think in this instance, it would make some sense at least.
Right.
Though they do play extremely different roles in the books. So, but then again, the books are just, the show's very clearly doing its own thing at this point. So,
right.
Gosh, that ending. We could talk about that later, but
we will get there.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that the way Leandrin kind of maneuvered her way into forcing, so she made it so that she was going to get a penance, but then the way she kind of like acted childish, but she kind of in a way tricked Swan a little bit into giving her the floor.
Right. And then like you have this happen, and she like turned the tables a little bit, and now all of the focus is on Moraine and the blue Aja.
Mm-hmm.
And it like Leandrin just kind of is on the back burner now. Like, did she even get a penance? I don't know. Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, she was. We don't know. You're right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, she probably did, but
I would
it's
assume
not.
so.
But in a lot of ways, she made the spotlight go on to Moraine, who Moraine wasn't even part of their group to begin with.
No.
So, but she got the secret out, and I thought it was an interesting thing. I feel like in the books, the one Aja they define the least actually are the blues. Because they have good eyes and ears, is what they call them, like spies all around the place. But other Ajas have those as well, like all of them do, because they're all just their own little secret societies of, just political entities within the bigger Aes Sedai structure. But people always say is blues have causes. That's what they say in the books. And Leandrin really just she's very contemptuous of the blues. Oh, they just those blues, they're supposed to be spies, and what's she doing? She's not even doing her job.
Right.
She doesn't even know what Moraine is supposed to be doing, but at the same time, no one does actually. Moraine's just gone totally rogue, and
right.
interesting.
What you realize, later on in the episode, right? Like when she's talking
Mhm.
to her fellow Blue Ajas, that's when you realize that you're like, oh, she hasn't been keeping anyone in the loop.
Right. Well, they clearly respect her.
Right.
The one of them was basically saying, the leader of the Blues was basically saying, well, if you, I'm going to go, and she kind of implied that Moraine is going to take her place a little bit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
all of this maneuvering, I thought it was really well done, actually. And then Moraine and Swan have their big fake-ish confrontation
Mm-hmm.
in front of everyone. And this was very similar to how it was in book 2, actually,
Right.
where Moraine and like Swan is not nice to Moraine at all until they're in private.
Right. Yeah. So it was good. It was just I don't want to say surprising. I was just like, oh, okay, like, yeah, there are a lot of like you said earlier, a lot of different faces that were being shown.
Mhm.
So, which was great because it lends to, I feel like the whole like overarching theme of this entire episode, I don't want to say was manipulation, but it kind of felt like everything was being manipulated to get into Moraine's to have her goals align specific. Well, even Moraine did a lot of manipulating herself in this episode. You saw it based off how she interacted with Perrin and Nynaeve, and then how she interacted with or Perrin and Egwene, sorry, and then how she interacted with Nynaeve. You're like, you're not telling the truth.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, yeah, she made truth stand on its head. It was cool. Yeah, but I really liked Moraine in this episode. She kept such a steely, not steely, but just like calm demeanor the whole time, just blank face. You can't read her at all.
Mm-hmm.
Face. And I'm not someone who necessarily notices specifically. I like the thing that person's wearing, but I really liked her blue outfit to this time. For some reason, that really caught my eye.
Yeah, it caught my eye too. I noticed it. I was like, this is really nicely done. And I don't know if it was intentional because they were there, like in the tower, or like if
it was her formal wear, kind of.
Yeah, like is it a thing that she's picking specifically for the occasion?
Yeah. So that scene was really cool. I like that they pointed out, they never said it before, but they said, oh yeah, Moraine Damodred, you're a noble woman. You think that you're better than us?
Yeah, I caught that little line. So
yeah, I thought that was cool. And you, at first, I think they were a little bit tongue in cheek or whatever. They wanted us to think that Swan was putting her down because she feels like, as a commoner, the noble woman is treating her haughtily, kind of. And she says, no, it's my tower. I'm the king of all that I see. Sorry, I'm quoting Yertle the Turtle a little bit here, maybe. But
yeah. So no, it was all in all, like that entire scene in the tower was, I think, really well done.
Yeah, set the stages really well. And then what happened next?
Then she went and found
Matt and
I think it was
Rand.
Matt and Rand next.
Yeah.
Right? Because she went to the inn.
Oh, so this is something random that I always watch. I always watch the subtitles, everything. I'm addicted to it ever since we had a kid and we had to keep the volume low. We have it. And now we listen to it every time anyways, because you miss so much without having subtitles on. But did you catch Basil Gill was the person who was he was the innkeeper at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Basil Gill is the guy who was in Camelin. He's the innkeeper in Camelin that Matt and Rand stayed with and had loyal in his inn and everything. He barely had any lines or did anything important, but they named him Basil Gill. So
I did not catch that because he's there for literally half of a minute.
Until she's like, leave us alone. Don't say anything.
She's like, go away. Don't come back no matter what you hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
No matter what you hear.
And then you're like, what's going on?
What might I hear? Yeah.
Apparently, just an exorcism.
Just that. Well, and
But
that scene was really cool too. Like she goes in and Matt tries to stab her, which is what kind of happened in
mhm.
Camelin as well. And I loved the way they showed her leeching all of the stuff out of the dagger.
I love how they are showing like just the effect that they're using to show the one power and like the whatever that is, the tainted,
Yeah.
all of the just the way that it's being visually presented is really nice.
Yeah, it was disturbing though.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
I will say after that moment when she like took it out, the dagger falls and she's clearly like, healed Matt as much as she could. I expected her to be more affected by it.
I think she was kind of out of breath, but hiding it the whole time.
Right.
I feel like that you're right. At first it just seemed like, all right, and now we're good to do.
Right.
But then I think she went outside. She was kind of breathing heavily and was tired. I think her whole thing in this episode, especially, was putting on a strong, calm, in command front in front
Right.
of everyone.
Hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I just expected to see her like visually. I guess maybe it's because a little bit of how Matt presented visually as well. Like I kind of just expected it to shift.
Mhm.
Um, and it didn't, which is fine.
They never show what happened to the dagger, though.
No, you just see land cover it.
Yep. As far as we know, it's still on that in floor.
Right. Poor Basil. He's gonna touch it.
Yep. You want to, Basil.
I do find it interesting though, in that scene, Rand was so adamant that Matt hadn't channeled.
Right. He hasn't channeled. He didn't do it. Yeah.
And it's like, do you know he hasn't channeled? Or are you just saying that because you don't want her to gentle him because that's what you assume is going to happen? Do you know that you channeled?
Right. Right. Well, that's the question is
Right.
what how much does Rand really know? It
Mhm.
almost seemed to me, actually, it seemed just like I'll walk in on one of my kids doing something that they shouldn't, and they'll and I haven't even told them that they shouldn't do it or something. They just immediately know that they shouldn't, or I just walk into the room and they
Mhm.
say, "I didn't eat the cookies," or something like that. And I had no idea there were cookies in the first place, but
Yeah.
they want to make sure that they know I'm not, they want to make sure I know that they're not guilty of the thing that they absolutely did do.
Right. Yeah,
And
maybe that's what it is then.
yeah, like Moraine comes in and Rand is like, no, he didn't channel. He didn't channel. She's
Yeah,
like,
he didn't do it.
I had no idea that was a thing, but okay. Thank you, Rand,
Right.
for that information.
Yeah. So I thought it was funny at least, but now
Yeah.
Matt is kind of sort of better. Not
Yeah.
really. Kind of.
Mhm.
Mostly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he joked, which was important at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought we barely see any of the Emmons Fielders, really. We
They,
see
this whole thing
it's
is Moraine.
it's Moraine and Swan is the secondary, really.
Right. Right.
Yeah, which is cool. I liked. I guess that this is a little bit later, but I may as well say it now. When Moraine meets with Loyal, she calls him
Yeah.
Builder and stuff. And she doesn't have a whole lot of reason to smile, but she has her big smile and it's very charming. And it's the one that she used on the White Cloaks. And you know that she isn't feeling the smile, but she knows she needs to use it to charm Loyal.
Right. It's one of those many faces.
One of the faces. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's exactly that. She's moving all of these pieces to line up exactly
Mhm.
how she needs them to get what she wants.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool to see. Yeah, everyone she's with, she in some way manipulates them. Actually, there's not a
Mhm.
single person that she doesn't.
Mhm. So, I mean, like she's even after the Matt and Rand bit, she's admonishing Nynaeve for being foolish and not letting her
Right.
know that they were there.
for being a not wisdom.
a not wisdom. And
Yeah.
but that is that classic like reverse psychology type of manipulation where you're like, why are you being the way you're being? Like, use some logic, think here, and then you get them to act the way you want them to. A little bit. It is naive after all.
It is. Well, gosh, the I guess we can a little bit skip. Maybe we don't need to talk about it yet, but the scene where Nynaeve and what's her name, Egwene, have the private meeting with Swan is just so classic Nynaeve.
It was, that's exactly what I thought when I was watching it. I'm like, of course Egwene does like a little bow and Nynaeve is just stiff as a board. Like, yeah, no.
Well, they did a wonderful job of accentuating that, of making sure we knew that Nynaeve was not being nice. She wasn't playing nice.
Well, and then she literally told the ambulance to stop blowing smoke up their asses.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
I was like, whoa, you are saucy today.
Yeah, well, I thought it was cool too. It was funny because they haven't seen each other for a long time, Egwene and Nynaeve, and then they finally see each other, and Swan wants to mess with them a little bit. She says, "Hello, child." She could be referring to anyone, or whatever she says, but I hear you're the strongest woman to channel in the tower since in living his memory or whatever. And Egwene like lights up. She's like, "Oh, I am." And then she's like, "Nynaeve." And Egwene's
I did catch that Egwene lit up. I was like, "Oh, it's not you. Sorry,
dear." Yeah.
Better luck next time.
Yeah.
Oh man. I really enjoyed as well. I feel like we're hopping around just because we're talking about Egwene now. I really enjoyed Egwene with Perrin, like the scenes there while Perrin was trying to like rest and heal up again. Especially once Moraine was there and went and checked on them and, lied that the others weren't in the city yet.
But she has it on good authority that they're okay.
Right? It's very interestingly worded.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. And even just like, you could tell she was so concerned for Perrin once Moraine was saying, like, he's going to heal, like the yellow Adras are so good at healing, and you won't be able to tell that there was any damage done. And Egwene's like, well, physically on the outside.
I like that a lot too.
It was so well done. You could, because that little line, you could tell that she was right there with Perrin, emotionally connected, and knew, like, just because you can heal him doesn't mean that you're healing him truly.
Yeah, you can heal him physically, but the mental scars that are there that aren't just going to magically go away.
And I do like that we got a little, like, we didn't really get a lot of info, but we got a little bit of info with Perrin and his yellow eyes. And by a little bit, I mean basically nothing other than don't tell anybody.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fine, but it is. I thought it was nice to see Moraine acknowledge that this is a big thing, and I don't know if she was acknowledging it was something because, to her theoretically now it could be Perrin, or if she just knows what it is and is like, this is a problem for another day. We'll talk about this later. Which would be kind of cool if that was the case, I think.
It's fun that Egwene handed her the rings and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Gosh, there's so much that was going on. So in between all of this, because Moraine's just running errands, she's talking. We have our first actual like female nudity in this one.
Yeah.
And
you're right, because it's when Moraine is talking to her, I guess it's the current leader for the blue for the Blue Aja.
What did she call her? Megan or something? No,
I think it was Megan or Megan or McGain.
No one knows.
I don't know. It was something like that.
No one
Started with an
cares.
M.
Yeah, she's an actual character in the books. I just don't remember what her name is. Surprise, I have a bad memory. But she, so we have that, which was whatever. I feel like they keep like it's like inner contract that they can't show Moraine nude, but they keep getting like really close
Oh,
to it.
guaranteed that's in her contract. You can tell from how her arm placements are.
Yeah, which is just an interesting thing. I truly don't care. Like that's not the reason I would watch this. I keep it's like almost to the point where it feels like they're screaming. Like it just seems like they just want to point it out. It's in her contract that she won't, won't know actually, because
Right.
yeah,
Well,
whatever.
because you can see the difference, like to go back to the very first episode when she got in the bath versus when Lan got in the bath.
Right. Well, yeah.
So same kind of idea here, I think.
I will say I don't mind that there being a little bit of nudity here and there. I'll say I'm surprised that I saw it at all, because they've gone this far without any of it, and it was just a couple random girls topless just walking past, and I barely even noticed. I was like, oh wait, I think I just saw that. I barely even, and it just seemed like a random decision to make. It does. If you've gone this far without it, then like what real reason do you have? Is that gonna somehow pull more viewers in?
I don't think it's to pull more viewers per se, but so the vibe that I've gotten from the entire story so far is that that's just the way things are in society. Like it's that's the norm. And you just said you didn't even really notice it at first. So by them sprinkling it through and not really making it noticeable and gratuitous, you're able to just glance over it, and that's the norm.
I guess it really doesn't. I think they could have had the scene without it, and it would have still been two women hanging out topless with each other. They just don't show any of their particular parts, but whatever. It seemed a little bit strange on that end to me, but it really doesn't even it doesn't warrant more discussion. It was an interesting thing. And oh man, I loved Moraine's confrontation with Leandrin at that one point. Leandrin's like, oh, I've been following you. I know the names of all your people. And Moraine's like, if you don't shut up, I'm going to tell everyone about that dude you keep going to meet with. And you know what your sisters are going to do to him.
Oh, just like classic, like, yeah, you do know, but I know something worse. And can it?
Well, and you know that she had someone following her or something, watching Leandrin to make sure she knew her secrets. So she had ammunition in a key moment, because she didn't just say it casually to Leandrin at any point. She said it in a key pivotal moment where she needed something to punch her with.
Yeah, I think all of the interaction in this episode with Leandrin was really well done. Like it was very tensely handled, which was perfect, because you would expect every interaction with her after that meeting in the tower to be tense. As soon as Leandrin throws her under the bus and is putting the attention on Moraine, every interaction after that is now going to be tainted. Pun intended.
So let's see. I feel like we should discuss the one scene that I was so shocked about. It was so surprising.
Okay, which scene?
Well, so Moraine, you kind of get a glimmer of it. Moraine she's dressed in something different than we've seen her. She's not wearing blue anymore. And Lan comes in and he says, "You've masked your bond," which is in the books. You haven't gotten to that point, but more like Aes Sedai and warders can mask their bonds so the other person can't see or can't tell where they are. They can't feel their emotions or anything. And usually that's done if, well, there's a number of reasons. They just don't want each other to sense each other's emotions, basically, or know what's going on with them.
Right.
And so he says, "Give her my love."
So he knows.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, are they? I don't. Is there going to be a secret passage to? And apparently, there's just some kind of Tyrangriol that teleports her to Tyr. It looked like.
Yeah. So I was a little confused by what it was at first, and then I was like, okay, well, here we are.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, a Tyrangriol is an item of power that is used for a specific thing in some kind of powerful or some kind of specific use that you have to use the power on to be able to use. So you could use the Tyrangriol. We saw it later on with the Oath Rod. The Oath Rod is a Tyrangriol to bind people to tell the truth, or it binds them to do as they promised through the Oath Rod. And this one apparently teleports her. It helps her travel to Tyr.
Right. And she just shows up, and I find it interesting. Like, there isn't even like a doorway behind her or anything. She's just there in the room.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much to say about later on in the books. There's very akin to certain other things that happen in the books later that so that didn't necessarily shock me that much. That kind of thing is not unheard of, I guess I'll say, in the book series. It is for the first book. Certainly it wasn't an option, but
right.
What were your thoughts when she was going through there? What did you think she was doing when Lan came in? What were your thoughts?
So first I was like, okay, so she's clearly just getting ready for bed. And then I didn't know where she was going. I thought she was just going to go out and go look and talk to the, I mean, at first, like, my thought was, oh, like, maybe she's going to go talk to Nynaeve again.
Right.
And then I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what to expect whatsoever. And then she was in Swan's room.
Yeah. Well, was it in a room, or I thought that it looked like it was a different house in a totally different locale.
It looked like it was a completely different locale. I agree with you. Okay. But yeah, I didn't know where we were headed until we were there.
Okay. And then what did you think? Once you saw Swan there, what did you think?
At first, I was like, okay, so I was like, she's going to have a private conversation with her now and actually tell her what she was doing. That was my initial thought. Like, she's going to tell her what she was actually doing, she didn't want to say it in front of all the other Aja.
They did have a very private talk.
They did have a very private talk. And I learned that she already knew what she was doing. So yeah. There was a lot of revelations in this scene for me.
Yeah. So this isn't a relationship that exists in the books. They are very close, but they aren't sexual as far as it's implied. Some of the sisters say that they thought maybe they were together or something in the books, but I mean, they both in the books like men. So I won't spoil anything further than that. But Moraine and Swan in the books are not intimate like that. They're very close friends. And so when they got all close, I was at first really disoriented because it's totally different than what they did in the books. And then so I thought, and it was funny. Moraine says, "Kneel," and as Swan do
I
it.
did catch that. I was like, huh.
All right.
Well played.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was curious if this was in the books or not. So, or if this was just a I don't even know what the right word is to use for this. Just a
tryst.
Yeah.
Or an embellishment on their.
Thank you. Yes, an embellishment.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it a little bit though, and I actually really like this. Not in any kind of male gratuitous, like watching these two. I just, this makes so much more sense that in the books, I can't give spoilers. There are pretty big spoilers here in terms of their different love interests and stuff.
Mhm.
But this makes way more sense to me,
Okay.
actually, than the other ones. I'll just say that because they've been so close for so long, and they were both raised from accepted to full Aes Sedai on the same day, and
Right.
they were always together, always in the same. From the very start, they joined the Blues because they found out the backstory that she was saying. They found out about that the Dragon Reborn had been born on this day and everything, and they were the only ones who knew about it. And so they've been co-conspirators since they became Aes Sedai, since
Right.
before that. And the whole thing that the tower, Robert Jordan had said in the past that he wanted there to be more lesbians in the tower than would maybe represent the female population otherwise,
Mhm.
because of the circumstances surrounding all of the power dynamics and all of there's only females in the tower,
Yeah.
and the focus on women. And to me, this makes a lot of sense, actually. I think this is a fun little twist, and it's a crack in the strength of Swan as well,
Right.
like a chink in her armor, so to speak.
Right. Absolutely. Which you see a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't want to say I was like shocked by this. I mean, I was surprised at first, and then I was just like, all right, so this is the thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you just have to think. So they're theoretically they're together, but they haven't seen each other for about 2 years ish.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like business partners too, in a lot of ways.
Right.
That they're not just there for for pleasure, it's also for business.
Right. And you see that Moraine's like, there are possibly 5.
Yeah, she just tells her everything.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, which again goes back to the whole, they're not going to talk about it in the tower.
So there was this one thing that they treat this information about being the Dragon Reborn with so much. You have to keep your mouth closed about this. You can't say a single thing about it. You can only tell your secret lover, co-conspirator, whatever. You can finally say the words out loud. But she told the Emmons Fielders instantly in the first book, one of you is the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, good point. Like right away. I was like, come, you got to come with me.
Yeah, and how can you trust all of them to keep that secret? Not to mention, she said it in front of all the villagers. A ton of the villagers heard it too.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
It's a little bit backwards. Whatever. That's my
so opinion. It is that a little, storyline gaffe, maybe.
Could be. Or maybe she just thought at the time she was super wiped out from her huge fight with the Trollocs, and she was injured. Maybe that was just a mistake on her end.
Right.
Could a gaffe, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they find out, oh, we can go to the Eye of the World and kill the Dark One.
Mm-hmm. And take all the Emmons Fielders with them, and take Loyal, because Loyal knows his way through the ways.
Mm-hmm. This is one thing I didn't necessarily love. This Swan somehow just randomly knows that the Eye of the World is, and the Dark One's there at the Eye of the World, and the Eye of the World is also not where the Dark One lives. That's not, at least in the books, that's not how where he lives. So there was a few different things. It seemed really weak, actually. She just randomly threw in, oh, there's like, go kill the Dark One too, by the way.
Right. I think it's one of those cases where you need to get them to the Eye of the World somehow. And the easiest way to do it is just to have someone tell you that you need to go there because the Dark One is there.
Right. Well,
not fill in that backstory of how they know.
I thought that was the weakest part of the whole episode, actually, was oh, by the way, there's the dark one. Go kill him. And
Right.
we're going to make this sound serious. People may die
Right.
too.
It is
Ooh.
100% weak. It's also the easiest option. It's the easy button. Like,
It is. That's fine.
so
They've earned it. They've done the rest of the episode was really good. This one seemed weak as hell, but
mhm.
so
I feel like before we get to that, we need to talk about
uh-huh.
Moraine being exiled, because she does have her, you know, sentencing hearing, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you judgment,
Her penance, yeah.
her penance. Um, and I just thought it was so interesting before that happened that Moraine was like, you have to exile me because
Mm-hmm.
the Blue Aja want me to stay. So you
Yeah.
have to you basically have to say I'm exiled so that I don't have to stay and I can
Mm-hmm.
keep doing what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and that hurts. You could tell the pain. She did such a good job of acting. You could tell
Oh,
how hurtful the whole experience was. How and she's just taking one for the team. She knows it's necessary, but it's so tough. There's how many times have you been in a situation where you do a thing for someone and they
mm-hmm.
have no idea that you're doing it for them, and it hurts, like it's not pleasant for you, it's you're sacrificing for them, but
Mm-hmm.
it would ruin everything if you told them, so you just keep your mouth shut and just endure. And they just don't say, they don't, they might be rude to you, they might be whatever,
Yeah.
and you just have to endure it. And that's what it feels like here is she's on this greater purpose cause. She has no idea. Why would she trust Leandrin? Why would she trust her with that information? She
Right.
has to keep it secret. And because Leandrin's not, you don't know what mischief she's gonna, how bad she's gonna bungle things, and what the Reds are gonna do. So she has to keep her secret, and she has to continue on with her mission, even if it means exile from the group that she's a huge part of, a really
Mm-hmm.
important member of.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and you could see like when it was actually happening, when they were in the tower and doing it, um, you could see it on both of Moraine's and Swan's faces that they did not want to do this, but they
Yeah.
were doing it anyway because it had to be done.
Oh gosh, has she used the little nicknames for
Yeah.
Swan that her dad gave her? And she also, Swan made her swear
Mm-hmm.
to have her follow the Amerlin seat,
Mm-hmm.
but she swore to Swan Sanche instead, not the
Yes,
Amerlin.
that's a really good point.
I thought, and she used her little, and I was like, can Noah, are people just not, can they not hear her? Is that the conceit? Because I feel like she said it loud enough that everyone could hear her in the room.
Right. I thought so too.
But if she said that would undermine her interaction with the Amerlin to the extreme. So I think the idea is no one could hear her. She was just loud enough so that we as the viewers could hear her.
Well, and it's interesting that she swore to Swan Sanche and not the Amerlin seat, because if there is, I don't know, I'm not that far. I'm guessing, but if there is a day where Swan Sanche is not the Amerlin seat, she could theoretically come back,
Right. Well,
right?
she
If Swan
couldn't.
was like, yeah, I want you to come back.
Right. Well, so yeah, if Swan, if well, she says, yeah, the way she says it, it's very interesting. But yeah, it's all Swan. So if Swan were to die, for
Mm-hmm.
instance,
Mm-hmm.
then Moraine could never come home potentially.
Right. Good point too.
So
Yeah.
and if like you said, if there's a different Amerlin and she
Mm-hmm.
says to come home, she still, and Swan still hasn't said it,
She
it's also
can't.
no go. Right.
Right.
Gosh, I will say there was this really inappropriate moment actually in this really somber, just off, she's kneeling, she's going to get exiled, and they come out with it's going to be the rod, the truth rod and stuff. And I don't know. They and so they open the rod. They open the thing, and it's the rod. And I had this like really awkward moment of like just irreverent, I guess. I was like, oh, that wasn't what you guys were using it for last night. It's just, I don't know. It was just,
Maybe
I
they
don't know.
shouldn't show it.
And they're both like holding it together awkwardly. I'm like, oh, what is?
Huh.
Yeah, just had a few irreverent thoughts there, but yeah, in the middle of like this really kind of almost heartbreaking moment. But
yeah, it is a really heartbreaking moment.
Yeah, so I had that thought. Of course I did.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, I had to laugh.
You had that thought, and my thought was, it looks like the spirit stick from Bring It On.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen it. The oath rod was apparently a prop fail a little bit there.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a prop fail, but that's fine.
Yeah, racy. Who knows what racy things people have used the oath rod for in the past? But
you said that he wanted like more lesbians in the tower, and they've got an oath rod.
They do. Yeah.
It's gonna make a joke about a lonely 2 years for Swan. Anyway, moving
on. Not quite as lonely as it might have been, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Gosh, I have the show up right now. I just have a random scene pulled up, and it's actually the still is of Swan, and she looks like surprised, like. So it's just a really funny, like, oh my, we guessed her secret.
Oh man. So Moraine is now exiled. This is what I found really cool about this, was she stands up and everyone turns their back on her.
Oh, and it was so quiet, and so it was so that they got it down. So it was just such a painful, just, we can't see you. You're not part of us now. You're exiled.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's not enough that she has to just leave. It's that everyone symbolically shuns her as well.
Yeah, exactly. And she's walking out down the hall, and they all are turning their backs to her.
Yeah. Super rough.
Mm-hmm. So it's that was hard to watch, but necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I think then you really see like you see the culture here.
Well, and you saw Alana. She didn't want to turn her back on her, but
yeah,
she did at the end. And Alana, by the way, is just totally unscathed for any of this. She's just doesn't get. She's like, all right, that was cool. Oh, just to go real quick, to go back to at the very start where where they're in front of the Amyrlin, Moraine, even though she's not the leader of the party that she was with, she's not even wasn't even assigned to be part of it initially. She is still the front and center person in their in their little triumvirate to go see Swan, or to talk to Swan. And I thought that was interesting. It showed a little bit of unspoken power dynamics of she would in that group of three, she naturally takes the leadership of them.
Right. I think it also just highlights how much this episode was about Moraine.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Right. She's front and center right away, essentially, aside from that opening scene, but she's front and center, and it's all about her afterwards. Yeah.
I just thought it was cool. She uses all the tricks. She uses Swan to guide the two girls. She uses her own manipulation with Rand and her discussion, and then she also with Loyal, she uses her charm, and everyone she's just getting everyone to do. She has Swan exile her. She tells her she has to do it, even though she's the Amyrlin seat, and Moraine's not the Amyrlin seat, but she still tells her what to do. And everyone. With Leandrin, she can only use threats. She can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Everything. She gets her way with everyone. Lan, she uses reasoning with him to be able to, well, I'm going to be going somewhere else anyways. You need to be protecting them anyways. It's important.
Yeah, exactly. No, you saw all of these different layers to her, which was perfect.
You see all the buttons. She has the levers and the buttons.
All the buttons.
Yeah.
So now we're going to the way path.
Yeah, the way gate. Yeah. So she shows up, and I have to say that the one time I had a huge grin on my face when all the Emmons Fielders showed up and they were all hugging each other, and that was such a cool thing. And Perrin and Matt kind of tweak each other a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then when Rand and Egwene were interacting, I still was like, nah, too much. It still isn't sitting with me.
Well, they were happy there was a restraint there, though. You could tell there was a little restraint there, even though they were really happy to see each other. But
there
was a tension.
And I don't know. I think subconsciously now, and this is completely separate from the books, I would like to say, but in the show, Egwene and Perrin are better suited. Maybe it's just because they've been thrust together, but I feel like she is more in tune with Perrin than she is with Rand.
True. Interesting use of that word there too. But they were, you're right. One thing I just observed, this is the first time in a few episodes where I felt like Perrin looked well put together. He looked quote unquote attractive, kind of, because all the other times he just looks so rough around the edges ever since they leave the two rivers. He just looks disheveled. The rest of them,
right,
like Rand can look kind of like a pretty boy with some dirt on his face and stuff, but Perrin just looks kind of gross a lot of times with weird stuff on his lips and stuff. And this time he's sleeping, I'm like, oh, he looks like an actor now.
Right. I wonder if that's deliberate.
Oh, I'm sure it is. That's why I'm noting it, because they chose to do that.
But I wonder if it's deliberate to match his emotional state.
Well, let's talk about this. And then there's one thing I need to rewind just a tiny bit, because people will roast me if I don't mention it as well. Okay. But the Perrin thing, he was happy. He smiled. He made a joke. He had his time with the traveling people, and that didn't seem. But it was like he was healed by having that experience, by just letting it off his chest to Egwene and telling her. I thought that it just very few. He only had one or two lines the whole show, but he seemed happier now.
Right, and if you have him from the moment they leave this whole time looking disheveled and doesn't care about his appearance or whatever, has no care in the world, he's just going from point A to point B in a haze. He's also mentally processing everything by himself. He hasn't divulged anything, so he's not going to care about anything. And now once you make that connection, he's quote unquote confessed to Egwene, it takes that weight off of him a little bit, and he can actually start to process it and move on in a healthier manner. And then you can see that physically.
I thought it was pretty cool. And he and Matt made jokes. I thought that was just fun.
Okay, so backpedal to the thing you remembered before you forget it.
There was just this really neat, gosh, I really don't want to give spoilers here much, but there was a really cool, I'll just acknowledge this for the people who have read all of the books. There was a really, that scene with Moraine and Egwene and Nynaeve all standing in the hall of the tower together. I just have to acknowledge that was a really neat scene for reasons that I won't get into right now, but
the one where she muttered under her breath about the Emerald seat only waiting for one woman, that one
right before that, when they're all and Egwene's asking well, isn't that confusing about the Amyrlin seat
Yes.
being a seat,
Mhm.
etc. That I can't say more because that's there are issues with me not saying more, but I was just want to acknowledge that scene was fun. So
Okay. Interesting.
sorry, I can't.
No, it's fine.
It's cool. I'll just say this they've done a few things here where they've kind of pointed at things that happen later in the series, like the various that only people who have read the books will be able to really, like, people who are watching the show won't hate it. They'll think it's an interesting interaction, but they don't understand quite the depth of what's going on. And
Right.
it was just a cool thing. So
Which is fair.
super fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, they're all gonna go in the ways, and it's not the way they do it in the books, but it's more dramatic. So she opens the way gate with the power, and the ways have all these rocks in them. What the hell?
Yeah. It I feel weird relating it to all these things. It looks like the Maze Runner.
I haven't seen it.
It literally looked that it's the same idea where this thing just opens and it's a maze. And you just like, I immediately was like, okay, so they're going into a maze. Like, that's what it looked like to me.
I think it looks cooler than the way I imagine the ways from the books, so I'm good with it.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm not mad by it, and it makes sense why you would need Loyal now, like, to guide you through it, because he's gonna know his way through this.
Oh gosh,
maze.
so she gets rid of all their horses. So much for Aldib and Mandarb. She just get out of here.
Right. So it doesn't matter about Bella anymore, because Bella wouldn't stay.
Right. Well, and it also makes sense. She says horses wouldn't survive in the ways, and I guess that makes sense because there's all the rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
But in the books, they totally use horses in the ways. Horses don't like it, but they get through it. So, and then Matt makes a joke. Is it too late to back out?
Right. Except,
and so everyone's going in, and he's like, oh, silly Matt. He's just, and then he does back out.
Right? Except that he wasn't joking.
Oh my gosh.
I was sitting there, I was like, wait, what? Like, what?
Matt, and Rand's like, here, boy, come on. Or, like, he didn't quite, it sounded like they were calling for a dog, though. Matt, come on, Matt, come on.
The door's, it's gonna close.
Matt's just sitting there, standing, I guess. Gosh.
Which is just, I don't know what they're gonna do.
Totally not something that happened in the books. So just totally, completely different. Oh, holy balls. Like,
yeah, I was like, what is he gonna go do now? Because even when he is, at least so far for me, even when he's been separated from other members, he's with somebody. So I'm like, now you're literally by yourself. What are you doing? And like, could he theoretically go back and just go find that dagger?
He could. This is, I don't know. The parts that I start liking Matt as a character in the books is when he is alone, when he finally is truly on his own, and he starts doing some awesome things. And this, he's actually in the books. He's in Tar Valon when that happens, and so I don't know.
Maybe they're just speeding that up.
Maybe they're starting his arc a little differently and earlier, but I don't know what to make of it.
I mean, we still have 2 more episodes, so we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Theoretically, assuming he's in the last 2, we will see what he's doing.
Oh man, I wonder if this, probably not.
Are you thinking this has to do with the actor not?
Yeah. What if this is somehow they've decided to do something different now with that character, with well, because clearly Matt's going to be in the, like, they have a new, they recast him. They didn't just like axe him. They're not going to just
Right.
have in episode 7, they just have like some marauders come by and just slash his throat and kill him, and just Matt's dead. No, dead
No,
at all.
But they did recast him.
Right. He's gonna, clearly he's, and yeah. But I don't know what's gonna happen. But I wonder. I don't know what the time frame was, if they could have even made that change.
Right.
I mean, you'd think that if they had all of the original shots with Matt in with them in the ways and making smart ass comments and stuff, they couldn't really that easily cut him out.
No, you would have to do reshoots.
Yeah.
And it would theoretically be a lot of reshoots, because not only would you have to do reshoots, you would theoretically have to change the script later on, like in the last episode, because if they originally shot it with him, you're now reshooting the finale. So
such a crazy ending. It was, I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what, I want to see what the ways are like. I want to see what Matt's gonna do. I really like, I've loved Matt. His one or two lines in the whole show were funny this time too. So
I'm curious if we're even going to see him the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, we might not.
Like, this might be it.
I hope that's wrong, but yeah, it could be.
I don't know. I feel like the key distinction I've been able to make between the books and the show so far is that the books have been more Rand focused, and it is entirely to do with the fact that the majority of the point of view in the books is from Rand.
Right.
And the show skews heavily towards Moraine. Like, this is it still to me is Moraine's story. So that makes me believe that we are going to follow Moraine in the next 2 episodes and not see Matt.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what Moraine's arc is going to be as well, because I don't know, they're changing things up, and honestly, I've really been into it. I've loved this whole episode was really cool, except for the random, oh, and by the way, here's a quest so we can have further episodes.
Right. So are you viewing it as a different entity then from the books, instead of a like
an addendum?
Yeah.
Or something, or like a visual representation of the books?
Yeah.
Totally different. It's a different story. It has to be. I mean, it has all the same characters, and I feel like they've kept the same spirit as the books, though. That's the cool thing. They've gotten Loyal really. He's going on it like, well, this is what the ways are like, and Moraine's just like, all right, Loyal, shut up. Here's
let me open it.
Yeah, she gets tired, and that's absolutely the interactions that happen with her. She's like, yeah, Loyal, you're handy to have around, but you talk too much. So you can tell she's always annoyed with how long he takes to say anything. And so it is totally different. It's fun though. They kept within the spirit of it. I mean, it's the same thing as the Lord of the Ring movies. They had to change a ton of stuff,
right?
But they kept the same spirit. And I don't know, it's too early to compare this to how amazingly they portrayed Lord of the Rings with the movies. But that was the platonic ideal of how you make a movie about a book that you can't exactly copy verbatim because the books are too long.
Right.
They did perfect in Lord of the Rings. It's too early to tell, but I will say there's a lot of similar elements of the characters are the same for the most part. A lot of the same feelings. The Aes Sedai intrigue is very spot on.
Yep. No, I'm enjoying it. So I'm happy to hear that you are, because I was concerned that you were going to hate it, because adaptations tend to go that way.
I think I had to have a real, I don't know, just a real blunt conversation with myself, so to speak, of just, what do I expect here? What do I want out of this? how could I ruin this for myself? And if I can ruin it for myself, how can I prevent that from happening? Because I want to like this. I want to enjoy it. And if I was just honestly, it would be boring if they just did the exact same things as the books.
Right.
Because then I'd know exactly what was going to happen.
Right. Whereas now you're a little caught off guard.
Yeah, it's totally different. We can't have horses in the ways. What the hell?
And Matt's not there either.
Bella dies in the wrong book. I'm angry.
Oh, poor Bella. Yeah. So, I was gonna ask you who your favorite character was, but I feel like I know who your favorite character was this episode.
Who do you think it was?
I'm gonna say it was Moraine.
Is that your favorite character? Are you
That's
just
my
projecting?
favorite character this episode.
I mean, they didn't give you much of a choice. Your
Yeah.
favorite character was either her. I guess a lesser opportunity was maybe liking Swan the best,
Mhm.
or you didn't like the episode. I feel like those are your three. It's not Matt's not
Yeah.
going to be your favorite character,
Right? Because they're
or
barely in it.
the less than wise dumb. You know.
Less than wise, dumb.
Yeah.
They're barely in it. So
It's either you liked Moraine the best, or you liked Swan the best, maybe, or you didn't like the episode.
yeah, fair.
Yeah, that's who I liked the most. Who did you like the least? Leandrin?
Yeah, I hate Leandrin.
Yeah, me too. I also hated Eamon Valda, even though he's dead. I still hate him. So.
Yeah. Leandrin, though, like this episode really just sealed it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, not a fan.
Good. I don't like her either. All
Good.
right. All right. I think this has gone on long enough. Shall we call it a day?
We call it a day and do it again next time. Only 2 more left.
I know, it's sad. And good, because it's wrecking my life, but it's good.
Sorry to wreck your life.
It's ruining my life.
So melodramatic.
Well,
yeah, so we'll call it good. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. We'll be back next week with another maybe 5 chapters.
Yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited to see what happens next. I have no idea. I hope it's not dumb.
Probably will be. If Nynaeve's involved.
At least in terms of her name, her title.
Poor Nynaeve. Okay, cool. So thank you everybody for listening. Appreciate it. Adam, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, I'm happy to hang out, apparently.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, okay. Yep, I am. I'm happy to hang out.
You are. So we'll be back next week. And thanks again for listening. May you always find water and shade.